What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Sports Card Madness. LZ and I are here with Nat Turner, who's the CEO of Collectors Universe, the holding company that owns PSA and several other companies. I know Nat is also an angel investor, and I imagine Nat, you're kind of like the kid who grew up and bought the candy store. It kind of feels like. But welcome to the pod.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
Excellent. So I know we connected over. I have the full 86 Fleer autograph set, and I finally crossed them all over to PSA because I wanted them all in a nice new label and everything. And that's how we got in touch. I was just curious, are you surprised it took this long to get, or for someone to get 100% on that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean we were talking about this before. I mean uh there's a number. I mean any set you have folks that have passed away or don't or reluctant to sign. Um and it's really tough with any set that's over 20 years old. And there's not, I mean there's actually quite a few cards in that set. There's over 100, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like, one of these original like Gaudis or something. I mean,
Mhm.
those are much older, but I just mean in terms of the set size. But yeah, no, it's super impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I mean, the problem is it's funny. You have like the Jordan cards, right? And obviously they're kind of the focus of the set and the stickers. But then you've got the no-name guys that are just they're sometimes even more expensive because
Oh yeah.
nobody wanted them to sign stuff back then. It's
Yeah. And a lot of
wild.
them don't sign. I mean, I've experienced that a little bit myself. Like you can mail, good luck finding their address. They don't do show signings, and
Oh yeah.
then you send them a card and they never send it back. I mean, that's pretty common.
Yeah,
So,
there's a really unique situation in this set too, where there's a Steve Johnson card that is not his picture. And
oh
he
really? I didn't know that.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
he hates. It's a picture of Dave Greenwood, and he hates signing that card. I begged him and
There
begged
you
him and begged him,
go.
and I finally got him to sign through the mail, but it was not easy.
See,
So
It's
that's
a very expensive card. Yeah.
yes,
great
it is.
example.
It is. It is. So I am also in the process of building this set. I'm 8 cards away. So
Autographed?
if
Yeah,
8 cards left. So if Nick is the first, hopefully I'm the second. I don't know. We'll see.
You have
that's the
that on the
plan.
set registry? I know the DNA set registry is kind of hard, but
Yeah, I got them both on the set registry, both the sticker. I'm number one on that one. I know the guy who's well, his set isn't complete for the base set,
yeah.
um, but yeah, no, it's I'm on there too
Wait,
because I'm the
you have the base set and the stickers?
correct. Yep.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. So I've all, and not only that, Nat, but I got bored and then I decided to look up every referee from that season and I got
Yeah,
every one of them that's living to sign a checklist. So I have
that's
like
cool.
30 checklists signed by, it's crazy. It's been fun. That's why I needed a new project after that.
Do you have are they card grade as well or just authentic?
Most of them are dual graded, almost all of them. Yeah, it's pretty
Wow.
wild because to
Do you have
get the
any
set.
like eights or better card grade?
Oh yeah, yeah. I got a couple nines, a couple 9 10s, and
Yeah.
I've got several 8 10s. It's hard to get a 9 or 10
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
on an
Yeah.
86 Fleer. It's just that the vintage stuff is even if it
Totally.
comes out of the pack,
The
it's a
Yeah.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
stickers
Totally.
with the wax on the back of them, and you got to clean that off. And yeah,
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
it's really,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's so
it's
impressive
hard.
though.
Yeah.
So I actually had a really like burning question for you about this. So obviously I had to crack a lot of cards. I crack open the slab,
Yeah.
get a player to sign it, resubmit to PSA. Do you guys have any way? I'd include the old label sometimes. Do you take that into account at all? Like if I crack an 8, do you or whoever receives it say that was an 8? We kind of have to be close, or do you just like forget about that and do it impartially?
It's a great question. So look, I'm not a card grader. If you crack it on your own, we pretty much treat it like we've never seen it before.
Hmm.
Because we don't, the player could have dinged it while signing it or scratched it, or,
Right.
if it's in our control and environment, yes, absolutely. And in fact, we did this with Kareem at the National with a sticker. Actually, it happened after the National as well, where a gentleman brought in, I forget what grade it was, but a high grade sticker, 86 Fleer sticker, and we cracked it with Kareem like nearby. We brought the raw card, like in our possession, brought PSA, I mean, brought the card over. He signed it. We took it back, graded it. So it wasn't floating around being handled. And we'd love to do that more coordinated. Like, we've thought about doing like an autograph series where we have someone like, I'm just making this up, but Larry Bird at the office, and anyone can send in a PSA graded Larry Bird card. We'll crack it. Well, we'll tell you ahead of time, like, is the card, there's no damage, like, you haven't left it in the sun where it's, changed color. And if we were to crack it and have him sign it and then holder it effectively, would it maintain the same grade? We've thought about that, just to ensure, because like, yeah, the crack out, especially if you're cracking out PSA cards, you're gambling,
Oh
the
yeah.
higher,
Yeah.
the more expensive the gamble.
I know I've gotten
Well,
pretty
we've
decent
seen,
at it, but I'll
we,
still
we've
hurt cards.
yeah, exactly. We've seen pretty bad stuff. Like we've seen athletes drop the cards when they were signing them. We've seen them, slide it across the table when they're done signing it, and like, it scratches the bottom. I mean, it's, anything can happen. So
So
yeah.
I love that Larry Bird idea. What is preventing you from doing that?
Honestly, a lot of the athletes have autograph deals with other
Mm,
companies, and so there's just not enough juice in it for the athlete. We'd have to charge basically a lot of money per card, to make it worth those guys' time. But we thought about doing it like the national or like the Chicago's the big Chicago show. This was it, the Sportstacular, something like that,
mm.
where a lot of those guys are already there. But it's really just the economics and also their kind of existing legal deals, which
Sure.
I
yeah,
mean,
Yeah.
geez, you could charge $10 a card just to crack them out. You'd probably
yeah.
get a couple thousand real quick. People just
I mean,
crack
yeah, you
sign.
never know. And a lot, what's ironic is a lot of these guys come to our office anyway for their own personal collecting goals. As you've probably seen on our
Hmm.
social, like, Peyton was there like a couple, like we could have totally had him, stay for an extra hour, make however much, probably would have covered all of his grading plus his travel and everything. But yeah, it's something we're thinking about.
Cool.
Nice.
Hmm.
Nice. Um, so you'd mentioned you have the 86 flare set yourself, but what
Yeah,
are
right here.
what are your most prized? Yeah, tapping the box behind you. He keeps it very close by, everybody. What are your prized collections that you have? Anything
And
that
I'm
really
actually not
stands out to
done.
you?
I've got 4 or 5 cards left.
Oh, okay.
So I'm mainly a vintage baseball guy and then a
Mhm.
90s basketball guy. Those are my two kind of personal passions. And then the third, in no particular order, would be wax. Like I love collecting unopened wax, pretty much all four major sports. And then I collect a lot of LeBron, although that's kind of waned as I've gotten most of the cards that I really only collect his rookie year stuff. And there's a couple like 101s and low numbered stuff I'll probably never find. But yeah, I mean, the nearest and dearest to my heart would certainly be the precious metal gems cards from 97 metal, which
So
I've completed red and a long time ago, almost a decade ago. And then the greens, I have 3 left, 123 cards in the set. And so that's those, if the room was burning down, those, and then I moved those to the PSA vault though, this Wednesday, funny enough. And then the Hank Aaron 54 tops Gem Mint rookie card that I have. That would be my other, which is an obnoxious card to own given how valuable it is, but it doesn't matter. Like, like I don't care. Like you couldn't pay me any amount of money to give that card up. You know what I mean? Like it's so special. I love Hank Aaron. And then I have like a bunch of player runs of him and Nolan and Mickey that also are really special. So anyway, I've got a lot of cards that are special to me.
yeah, it sounds like it. So you mentioned
Yeah.
you got three of the greens left. What are the three? Let's tell
Uh,
the audience. Maybe they can help you
Oh
find them.
yeah, I've told everybody, no luck. Christian Leitner, which I have
Okay.
seen, I know of one. I haven't seen it in person. It's in, I want to say, South Korea.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
John Stockton, which I've seen, or again digitally. There's and one sold. I forget his name. Was it Adam? So there's the he owned one and sold it. Adam Gray, I think his name. But then there's a PC guy for Stockton in Utah that has one. He won't move it. Those two, and then Robert Pack, which no one has ever seen, and none of the grading companies have one in their pop report. And so
Mm.
that one's certainly tough. But prior to the start of this year, there were 3 cards I had never seen. That one plus Del Curry plus Brian Grant. Del Curry and Brian Grant in the same calendar year. I've been doing this set for 15 years. Both of them popped up in Japan of all places. So
Wow.
I was able to get both of them, thank God. but yeah, anyway, I'm still holding out hope for Robert Pack to surface. Honestly, just knowing that one exists would be, or obviously it exists, but it is obtainable. Would be nice to know. So those
Right?
three.
Is it sitting in a pack, or does somebody
It could
actually
be,
have it, or did it go right in the
like
trash?
yeah. Well, that's the problem. Like that, it was such a widely accessible, kind of not cheap, but like a accessible set, affordable pack. And Robert Pack, who the hell is he? So like all these kids probably just they're in their trunks and binders and like, but the Jordans, of course, like that's why 9 or 10 of them are accounted for, maybe all of them. The bigger players, that's why they're actually more common because the kids would keep them more likely. There weren't a lot of guys our age opening Metal Universe in '97. It was a bunch of 10 and 12-year-olds. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm
That's
hoping.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be on the lookout now.
Yeah, please.
It's really interesting with you bringing up just this search that you're under, right? And the three cards, and maybe where two of them are, and the last one, the Robert Pack one, you don't. We just had a previous episode with Dr. Collectible where we did like a rocket pitch episode where we were just going over just innovations that we could do in the space, and this was one of them. The idea is you could create like almost like a bounty hunting service where
Yeah.
someone hires you out to go and search the depths of the world to find these. So it's funny that you say that because yeah, I think we were onto something with that bounty hunter, Nick.
Yeah.
We've thought
Might have
about an
to.
idea. We've thought about an idea at PSA where you could pay like as a non that's not the submitter, but like as just a collector,
Mhm.
basically create a want list and put a bounty out, and basically anytime that, like, you could say anytime in 1997 Metal Universe PMG green is graded privately, because a lot of people use the PSA app now for the grading submissions. You get your notifications, and when you get your grade reveal, it says, "Oh, congratulations, you got a 7 on a which would be a good grade for PMG green. Hey, there's an anonymous collector out there who'd like to offer you $11,000, or just," and it creates an instant offer, for that card, which is kind of a cool idea.
I love
So
it.
I
anyway.
love that idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's actually real. We some really smart people on our team in a hackathon a few weeks ago, our engineering team and product team literally built it just sort of like for fun. And it's not going to launch anytime soon because there's a lot of things to work out, kinks, and
Mhm.
it's complicated actually when you dig into it.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah,
so
as soon
I'm
it's like web hosting. As soon as you punch in the domain you want to buy, boom! Oh, hey, you could buy this for 20 grand or whatever. So
yeah,
I like the idea.
Mhm.
I've
yeah,
put
yeah.
bounties out on Facebook for cards that I've needed, so I'd love
Yeah, I
to
mean, look, we
formally.
grade like 55, 60,000 cards a day. It's 60,000 opportunities every day for someone to find something they're looking for is one way to
Yeah,
think about it. So
great point.
Yeah, you're solving a real problem right there.
maybe, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, well, good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Um, what is PSA's secret sauce, would you say, especially compared to your competition? What do you guys do really well? And on the flip side, what do you know that you need to improve on?
Yeah, I mean, our people is by far our biggest asset. It starts with experts, and doing it at scale. That number of cards, anyone can have
Mhm.
a single expert in a room. We have almost 150 graders worldwide grading cards, and it's really special and unique that we can, we think get it right most of the time, if not all the time. I mean, we definitely make mistakes. But we take it really seriously, and doing that across now 3 grading offices for PSA, Jersey, California, and Tokyo, and getting close to the same distribution curve of grades given out on authenticity by spec. That's the biggest asset, for sure. I mean, what we need to be better at, I mean, we're still struggling at customer service. We have a great CS team, but we get inundated, and a lot of it's our own fault. Like, we, still, some cards go out with scratch cases. We have shipments that go to the wrong people every now and then. Like, again, 60,000 cards a day, things can happen. Doesn't happen often, but we're, on a percentage basis, it's way less than 1%, but we're such a passionate group of people, the collectors, I mean, like myself included, you guys included, that like when we screw up on one of your prized possessions, like, guess what? You're going to Twitter and Instagram and blowing us up.
Oh
And that,
yeah.
and it's, I don't fault them for that. In fact, I used to do the exact same thing before we bought the company, but it puts a spotlight on that we can always be better. So the consistency of our, I would say, customer service and accessibility is probably our biggest weakness at the moment, but we'll fix it.
I gave your CS team a shout out a couple episodes ago, actually. Because when I finally got a hold of them and had some real good back and forth, I had an issue with shipping, and then it got sent back to you guys, and I was very I was very worried that it was going to get lost
Yeah.
because it went back to you. And the person I was dealing with was great. They were
Yeah, they're
excellent.
awesome. We just don't have
Yeah.
enough of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and we try, it's really hard. Pandemic really made it tough to hire folks in the office that, it's hard to resolve a lot of the issues people have with PSA as a customer when you work from home. You can certainly handle a lot of them, but a lot of these issues are like, hey, I sent 32 cards in, but you're saying I only have 29. Okay, like, how do you resolve that if you don't have, the order in front of you? And that sort of stuff. And yeah, anyway, we're that's one reason we opened New Jersey. It's one reason we opened Tokyo, is to tap into more local talent where the submitters are. So we can speed up turnaround time. Turnaround times, of course, is another weakness. I mean, we're like 97% of our orders this year we returned within the service level. Which is great. If you go back last year, it was probably like 60%. But guess what? 60 business days is still far too long. And so, I mean, we beat it 97% of the time, but it's still too long. So next year we have a goal to make that 45 days. So, and that's a big, it's 20%. Like our ops team's going to murder me and run PSA. Like,
Stretch
we
goals.
we all want our cards back fast. Like it's not a good thing when you submit cards and when you get them back, you forgot what you submitted. And
Sure.
we're still kind of close to that. So
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So, Nat, one more autograph question. So I've had this happen a number of times with PSA where I'll get a relatively obscure player. We'll just say Walt Hazard, 1969 card. It will go to PSA and they'll fail the autograph, or they'll say inconclusive.
in
right?
9, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll go to JSA because I'm desperate, and I'm like, come on, please tell me this is okay. JSA will give me the sticker. I'll put it on the card. Then I'll send it back to PSA, pay again, and then PSA will say it's good. So I was just curious, like, how do they treat every submission like it's a new submission, or how do they handle something like that?
Yeah, honestly, they don't really look at the other stickers and authentication companies. I mean, that's, you're an N of one, so it's tough to, it's tough to say. But we really do ignore, that team really does ignore, other LOAs. I mean, look, it's always helpful for provenance if you have, a photo of you, with the card, by the way, a lot of people do that. They're, we saw this on Twitter the other day, we failed or in 9 to Curry Auto, but a guy literally had a video of him and his son getting him to sign it, and a lot of these players will do it quickly. And we do take into account, surrounding, material and evidence. But when a card comes back in, we do actually have a photo of every card, every autograph submitted. And we have this giant database by player or by subject. And we will, do our best to confirm. It could be the case that we learn more about that player's signature in between the first and the second sub. Yeah, so I'm not sure on that exact one, but we don't really, I know the DNA team doesn't really look at the other LOAs.
Yeah, no, I would never ask you about a specific card. It's just a general like idea.
Oh,
I was just interested in the process,
Yeah, it'd be a new submission. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for that little nugget though around the pictures and the videos, because that was going to be a question I had for you, because sometimes I include them, sometimes I don't, sometimes I forget. But I know the audience.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great that it's helpful, because
I mean, look, we
talk
still,
about this.
to be clear, we've had, and you may remember the card porn case not so long ago. That was not an autograph. That was more of a photo matching. When we failed those, that guy brought us the photos at the national, the ones that he ultimately gave to, I forget, doesn't matter, but whoever photo matched it, those photos were fake or were doctored. And so we do have history of people trying to give us fake photos. So again, the photos aren't foolproof either, but who you are, you're standing in the hot, like we do take into account a lot of different factors if possible. Like, for example, I forget the guy's name, the subject, but one of the ZZ Top, artists, one of the two guys, like there was a guy, an autograph collector who had a bunch of autographs that he signed, and they were pretty different from what we had seen prior. and he was able to give us a ton of evidence, of a signing, where we could literally see with the hand that he was signing in that specific way. So yeah, I mean, again, we're always looking to learn. But we don't take every piece of evidence that someone gives us with like, oh great,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's good to go.
That's really good to know, because I've actually included videos of like Jason Tatum signing something on like a tiny URL in that comments box, and I'm like, should I even be doing this? But
No,
it sounds like
probably helpful,
it
yeah.
sounds like that's
I mean, look,
helpful.
I'll be honest, our DNA team is conservative, and that's a good thing.
Mhm. Of course.
They don't care, and we don't charge, by the way, if you get N9 inconclusive, just to be clear. So
Mhm.
if we say it's N4, which we think it's fake, then you would get charged. But most of the time, if they're not sure, almost all the time, they're going to N9 it, which means it goes back to you free of charge. You pay the shipping.
Right.
They're trigger happy on the N9 because a lot of times if the autograph's different, and they're not going to N9 something that looks good, because again, like why? I mean, it looks good, and the
Right.
revenue and such too. But like if something looks different, I mean, they don't want to take the risk, and there's nothing I can say or Ryan can say to tell them to change their mind. But that's when the evidence helps. Is we had this issue recently. I won't say who, but like a pretty big basketball player in some of the recent releases that had a different autograph from his year prior, and we actually we got to the player's agent and asked for a video of the player signing, and sure enough, he signs in both ways.
Interesting.
And it was fascinating. Like it's like you don't see that often, but and in that case, the submitter didn't give us the video. We actually sought it out because it was such a big deal. But point is yeah, we're always looking to learn. So
yeah, that's a really good point. Nick and I are actually Boston Celtics season ticket holders, and we have definitely seen Jason Tatum's signature morph over the years. So that's perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Well, and this one, it's like, yeah, I mean, the problem was it looked like someone was forging his signature.
Mm.
It was like much more crisp and whatever. But then, yeah, I mean, literally, we have a video of him doing it perfectly. We're like, well, yeah, like what do you know? And basically, it's a fast signature versus a slow signature is what he's doing. Yeah, when he's walking down the tunnel, he's like, and then when he's sitting down with a 1 of 1 card, he's taking his time. And it was a good learning for us because we almost N9'd all of them. But we thankfully took the extra mile and got the confirmation. So
that's great. That's really good to hear that you do go the extra mile. That's awesome.
I thought it would always be interesting. If you think about type 1 photos and type 2 photos, I almost think someday down the road you could have vintage autograph. Like you would know that this was signed in the period, right? Like in the 80s,
yeah,
like MJ. But you could actually put it on the label.
I know our guys. So great point. Our guys can date autographs of Jordan and Mantle, for example, based on their career. I had something we've talked about, and you'll see auction houses say early signature, like the MJ, the recent one, the photo with the type 1 photo. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. That'd be super cool.
Well, yeah, the reason it matters.
I personally like the ballpoint pen signatures on the old stuff because I'd rather have a 69 Mantle being a ballpoint than a Sharpie, because it's like, it more than likely it was an earlier, autograph. So.
I totally agree with you. I like my Jordan because it was signed in 88 or 87. Wow. And it looks like the period signature and it's on the card. It wasn't signed at a camp 10 years later.
Ballpoint?
Yeah, I have one in ballpoint and one in Sharpie. Both signed in 87, 88, 80s, which is perfect.
Yeah, that's what you want. Yeah, totally.
Excellent. So Nat, I had another question. One thing I've noticed lately is this new beta submission process. So I'm submitting all the time. How's that going? Like, where did that come from? And how's the rollout?
Well, actually, what do you think? Do you like it, or is it still buggy?
I do. So I was actually messing around with it a little bit this morning. I've submitted a couple things that way. It's faster. I like how it populates a photo of the set when you start entering it. It's almost like going from the U.S. Postal Service shipping site, which is terrible, to going to like a pirate ship, which is much faster and seamless. It felt like that to me, where it was just like a 2.0, very clear upgrade.
Yeah, we have a lot of ideas. I mean, first of all, it needed to be changed. The old one was frankly crashing like all the time and really slow. Like you type in I'm sure you experienced this. I know I did. Like you type in your card and then the auto complete, like the list just doesn't load. And
Yeah.
and I never lost a submission, thank God. Like even if it would crash, you'd go back and it would still be saved, which was good. But this one, it's basically a brand new platform that allows us to innovate on top of. And we did a lot of focus groups with collectors, and one of the biggest things we got feedback on was like, hey, I don't really know the card that I'm submitting. I mean, you and us three probably do most of the time when you're submitting, but like a lot of first-time collectors and new submitters, they may not. And having the images is super helpful. And what's cool about it is we take images of every card now. We have for like 2 years. And if you submit that card now, we're going to image it when it comes in. The next time someone submits that card, there's going to be an image if it was not there prior. So you can see it's going to build, like get smarter where, I mean, you've probably noticed like 10 or 20% of the cards have images. Every day that's getting more complete because we're filling the gaps with images as they come in. So that's really cool. But we have a lot of stuff coming. Like we've got prepaid shipping labels. Like right now, when you finish the submission, you have to, walk over to FedEx or go to FedEx.com or USPS.com and print, type in our address, and we go find it on our website and like, what do I pay? And insurance. You'll just be able to click a button and it just prints your printing label, your shipping label from your printer. That's another example. The Vault integration. We've got a really cool thing coming. I can't say what in Q2. It's going to be awesome regarding like after service, like what to do with your card. What else? Yeah, and then the mobile app. You're going to be able to scan a card on your phone in front of you. It identifies the card and creates the submission for you. So if you're like at a show, you just bought a card, you may not know what it's worth. The app will say, hey, great, it's a 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan. Here's the range of values in various grades. Click on what quality is it in, roughly, whatever you think. But it identifies it and then gives you basically helps you pick the service level and emails you the printing label, the shipping label to print. So you can do basically mobile submissions, which prior to this OSC 2.0, Online Submission Center 2.0, you couldn't even load it in the web browser on your mobile phone. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff.
So you've been taking pictures, you said, for roughly about 2 years now, trying to take a picture of every card.
Yeah, it's like
This
25 million front and back images.
Wow. Wow. Did you have the foresight 2 years ago to realize that you needed to start building this database to leverage AI in the future? Like,
look, this is not, this was not some like giant light bulb moment. This was like a table stakes thing. Like if we want to do anything, so we use these images. We actually sent out an email to the whole company. It's like the great unlock is what we called it, where if you have images of things, you can identify the cards. You can help the research team see if the card's fake or not. You can help the grading team decide what the centering is without having to take out a ruler. You can, start to detect flaws with the card. You have a before and after for the submitter. A lot of times they're like, hey, you damaged my card, but then you pull up the first view and you're like, wow, the crease was there before you sent it to us. You can build all sorts of stuff on top of these images that, you can help the submission process that we just talked about, help someone, identify the card as they're submitting. You can give the image to someone to help them list the card, with the graded image after it's done. You can do a cert lookup, when someone's buying a card, you can compare, the photo with the card in hand, and which is super helpful. Like we see people faking slabs, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, so we take a before and after photo of every card raw and graded. It's like, 200,000 images a day. But it's super cool. And I mean, again, it was pretty obvious. I don't want to act like it was some genius idea. Like it was pretty obvious back then. The tough part was how to do it. Because again, at 50, 60,000 cards a day, it added like a lot of cost to our per unit tracking. That was the toughest part, is to be like, all right, we're just going to be less profitable for, until we figure out how to make it cheaper to take images.
Sure. Yeah, that data is going to be so valuable. Every day it's getting more and more valuable. So kudos to you. Staying on the AI topic, and you mentioning CS and some of the things that you're trying to work on there. I'm in the tech industry. I have been for a while, and I know that there are so many great use cases on the CS side around AI. I'm just curious, like, are you thinking of using AI to help customers and your customer support team at all?
Yeah, yeah, we are. I'll tell you though, RCS, I mean, unlike Verizon or someone like that, we're dealing with very expensive, typically, highly passionate customers that, you know, uh, care deeply, and they should, about the service we're providing and the possessions of theirs that we're currently stewards of. And if you actually dig into our CS, like we have to do, like our exec team and folks, like we do, we have to do customer service occasionally to see what it's like. Pretty much every customer service case is complex and N of one. And like, when's my order going to get there? Okay, like, yes, you can use AI, and we kind of launched a feature like this where it provides you an estimated completion date as opposed to just what you originally submitted it at. That actually, yes, AI could solve, and a lot of CS questions are like that. But you'd be shocked at how many minutes it takes the average CS person to handle an average ticket.
Mm.
And like, I'm pretty skeptical that AI is going to like help us with CS. Frankly, we just need to train our folks really well and have a lot of them, and that's fine. Like, like
Right.
it is,
It makes
it is what,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
All right, totally switching gears. So it's the holiday season, and I am watching a movie with my family last night. We're watching a new Netflix movie called Family Switch.
I've heard about this.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to bring it up. And we're getting towards the end of the movie. And PSA
Yeah, I heard
comes
someone
up
told me this.
in the
Yeah,
movie. And I'm like, oh my goodness. We're
was it
talking
Charizard, right?
yeah, the Charizard,
Yeah,
PSA 10 Charizard. It's like in the movie they have to like barter to get something, and he has to give up his most prized
yeah,
possession and his
yeah.
prized possession. I'm just, and it got me thinking. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to be talking to Nat tomorrow about this. I'm like, I have to bring this up. Like, what are your thoughts around just the pop culture? Like PSA is it's getting ingrained in just pop culture now a bit. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's really cool. I mean, we've seen that. I don't think it was a PSA slab, but if you remember the movie The Accountant with Ben Affleck, he had some like Honus Wagner T206s in there,
Mm.
which I thought was cool, in comic books. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool, and obviously the Golden Show on Netflix. I think there's a lot of athletes that are doing their own, like AJ Dillon, and what's his name on the Mavs now? He was on your team. Grant, was it his name? Grant
Oh,
Williams.
Grant
Grant
Williams.
Williams. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big
Mhm.
Pokemon collector. Trout, with what he did with Otani, and Bobby Witt Jr., and like all these Peyton, they're all helping to kind of make it like somewhat cool. I'm not gonna ever say this is like super cool, but it's making it an asset class at least, which is nice. But yeah, we'd
Absolutely.
love we'd love it to be in more. We'd love cards in general to be in more movies and commercials, and yeah, I love the
Yeah.
Fanatics commercial they did, the Tops one with Brady. That was
That
cool.
was awesome.
More stuff
Excellent.
like that. It
Hmm.
reminds me of the old Upper Deck commercials. You remember, like with Kevin Garnett at the lunch table, with like,
Oh yeah.
want the jersey back because they cut a piece of his jersey out, and like that. Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
funny. You mentioned asset classes. That's kind of why I got into high-end vintage autos. I was just with my financial advisor, just trying to diversify, from the standard real estate, stocks, bonds, whatever. And I'm not really into art, but I love signed Jordan cards. So it's a similar category. So it's funny you brought that up.
Yeah. No, it's a real asset class. I mean, I would
Oh
argue
yeah.
if you're buying like, what's his name? The Max or Mac Jones on the
Oh
like, if you're
gosh.
buying a one of one card of him,
Ugh.
his for 100 grand, I would say you're more buying,
Oh.
pink sheet. You're going all in on a pink
Yeah,
sheet
penny
stock.
stocks.
Yeah.
All right, Nat, we want to be respectful of your time. So we have one final question. We actually ask every guest this question. If you could sit down and have a coffee, so we're talking, an hour or two, with any sports figure, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh, like an athlete?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Athlete, any
Yeah.
any athlete ever, just sit down and have a coffee.
Okay, so I'm a huge golfer, so I'm gonna have to go with Tiger Woods.
Mm.
Because yeah, like, I'm not saying anything you don't already know, but like I watch videos all the time. I'm sure you do too, of like, Jordan. I was watching The Last Dance last night for like the 40th time, and the mentality of Kobe, Jordan, Tiger, of just like win at all costs is so fascinating. But like Tiger, I don't know, like it's so hard to argue. Like he dominated a sport that is arguably the hardest sport to dominate. Like basketball, it's so much about athleticism and height. And I'm not minimizing what Jordan is, trust me. But like as a golfer, like I can't even comprehend how Tiger was as good as he was for as long as he was. And with like a 5 or 6 year break and with like all sorts of injuries. I mean, I'm like, I just want to spend like 10 minutes just like understanding how his brain works because I mean, obviously he made a lot of sacrifices, to do that, which I'm sure he's still paying for, but it's incredible. I collect his cards pretty intensely. And I would like to see. I remember one time usually you don't want to meet your heroes. Like some of the players I've met where I'm like, I have your cards. They're like, all right, like that's a little weird. Like, you know, back up, back up, bro. But yeah, Tiger, that'd be my pick.
That's
Excellent.
great.
Yeah, it's funny how when we do a sport or like I play guitar, it makes you really appreciate the people who are just exceptional at that or like the best 1% ever at it. You're like, what? How do they even
Yeah,
do this? So I
yeah,
imagine golfing's like that too.
yeah.
Um,
Like,
Excellent.
I've met these guys who are like on the like, these low, like, at the YMCA and stuff, these guys who like, like they could make the NBA. They were in the NBA, and like they're pretty clear, like they made it. But then
Mhm.
I play with like the best golfer I've ever met, is like a D1 college player who made it to the low end of the PJ Tour. And, like he's, Tiger Woods is 10 times better than he is. I'm
Right.
just like, all
Yeah,
right. I just don't understand.
there's
It's different.
levels. There's levels to
Yeah,
everything.
in golf, it's the most complicated sport you can imagine. Mental and physical. But yeah, so
Excellent.
yeah.
Well, Nat, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
The thing that really stuck out for me was when we were talking about autographs, you said, even if I got involved, I couldn't change their mind. That made me feel pretty good as an autograph
Yeah.
collector that submits to PSA. That really
Yeah.
stuck out for me. But
Same for grading. Like,
And
yeah.
and keep the innovations coming, Nat. That's what stood out for me is just all the different ideas that you and your
Oh
team are
yeah.
thinking of doing. Yeah, keep
I
it
appreciate
coming,
it.
please.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the company had 25 people on its engineering team when we got here. We now have 150. So we're we're trying to innovate, trust me. Yeah.
love it.
great. So, Nat, if anyone has these cards that you want or wants to get in touch with you about something like that, what's a good way to
Yeah.
find you?
Oh, Instagram, yeah, Nat S. Turner cards _cards.
Perfect. Hopefully, we'll find you that Robert Pack card. Hopefully, it
I
exists.
I'm not holding my
Excellent. Thank you, Nat. We appreciate it.
yeah, thank you guys.